Harrisburg Stampede. Justin Coble with
I
us.
gotta change the freaking.
Oh, there it is.
Basically, they were
It's
playing
Major
Major League with a real game. Yeah.
Oh shit, there's the Hattie.
All right, and the sound of the hockey organ means we are in the second half of the show. So, yesterday, shits and giggles. I'm like,
better than giggles and shits.
well, so that they lead to that sometimes. Anyway, I decided we have this group. We have the NASPOD MVPs group. Let's do something fun. So I posted a poll on who wins the Super Bowl based on the current standings. And I listed the top team from each division. And based on voting, which closes tomorrow, so there's still another day. But based on voting right now, the majority of people in the group have selected the Lions as the team who would win the Super Bowl based on current standings.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I want the Lions to win the Super Bowl. Just anybody but the Chiefs at this point.
Yeah,
The Lions,
remember
right?
how
Lions have
the
the best.
Chiefs were the plucky underdogs there a few years ago, and now we're all sick of them.
Well, they're like the Patriots.
Yeah.
They're exactly like the Patriots right now. You hear so much about them, and you just no, screw off. I want your ass beat.
Now, let me say this with that mindset, because I want to see the Chiefs lose too. I respect the shit out of Andy Reid as a coach, and Andy Reid deserves all the success he's gotten. I don't want to take anything away from him because he's a great coach, unlike Bill Belichick, who a majority of people never liked. Andy Reid doesn't come off like an a-hole. Yes.
Andy Reid's a very likable person.
And he earned his stripes coaching in Philly. So he deserves all the success he's gotten.
Agree. But people just want to see the Chiefs get beat.
They do. But before we continue, the second place team in the voting was the Eagles. Third was the Steelers. Fourth were the Bills. And fifth were the Chiefs. And for some reason, it's giving the Seahawks and the Falcons 1% of votes. No one voted for them. I don't know where those numbers are coming from, but
that's funny. But then you got the Texans with 0 votes. Then,
so I mean, I'm really glad people voted. I'm glad that there was an active discussion. I think. I mean, this is legitimately why we wanted to create a group, was to get people involved, talking about sports. I mean, the group this week literally gave us the show.
Yeah, pretty much it did.
And I'm very appreciative of the people in the group for making this happen. So what are your thoughts on the poll beyond just we want to see the Chiefs lose?
I mean, I'm hoping the Lions do win the Super Bowl. I'm hoping they do. They deserve it. They haven't won one that I can remember. Let me make sure my facts are straight here on that one. But I don't go by, unfortunately, I cannot go by regular season records, because we've all seen that with different sports to where they just have not panned out once they hit the playoffs.
Oh, you mean like the best in baseball for a majority of the season, Philadelphia Phillies, who choked in the NLCS?
You brought that up, not me.
I said last episode that the 08 team would beat this team. So,
I mean, I've seen, let's say, let's go hockey here. Let's say President's Trophy winners, which is the best record in the NHL, get swept in the first round. So it's one of those things to where can the Lions stay with that momentum?
Can they stay healthy?
Exactly.
I mean, look, their coach is coaching his ass off.
If they can stay healthy, keep that momentum, yeah, they will steamroll. They will steamroll through. As long as they stay healthy, I think they'll steamroll. Now, the Eagles right now, I feel have momentum because they have been picking up more and more steam. So I feel it would be. I think if it does happen, who knows where everybody's going to sit in the standings for the playoffs? But would you see a Lions Eagles NFC title?
It's possible.
Because, like I said, if the Lions stay healthy, they'll steamroll. Eagles are gaining momentum; they could possibly match it. So
I'm not going to lie. Many people know that my wife is a diehard Steelers fan. I'm glad that they turned it around this season based on prior seasons. They're in a very competitive, hard-nosed division. And whoever is going to win that division this year, they're going to be beat up. That's a tough division. And I don't know if the Steelers have the talent to go far in the playoffs. I feel bad saying that again because my wife loves the Steelers, and me, I have no allegiance thanks to years of playing fantasy football. But I feel like they're a bigger shot in the dark than the Eagles are at this point. The Bills only getting 10% of the vote was surprising because I think the Bills are still a very good team.
the Bills are a good team. Yes, they are. But I don't know. It's just one of those things to where, again, the momentum going in.
Right.
I mean, you played the Niners, who are right now one of the crappiest teams right now. One of them, and I'm a Niners fan, and I'm saying that.
Right.
But if you get, they're 10-2, but again, can they keep momentum?
Right.
Hell, that'd be something for them to knock out the Chiefs just during the playoffs in general. If that happens, the Bills Chiefs.
I mean, but that's what makes playoff sports interesting is because the stakes are higher and anything can legitimately happen. And you're right. It is 100%. I mean, not 100%, but it is momentum plays a role in it. Talent can stop momentum. That's very true. But having the hot hand does have its own merit to it. And we've seen it happen in all sports over the years.
Again, look at baseball last year. The Phillies had momentum, and all of a sudden they just crapped out.
Well, that's the last 3 years.
Breathe. Goose Fraba. Breathe.
The worst part, look, and everyone's gonna understand this. The worst part of being a diehard fan of a team is the suffering when they lose, especially when they lose in big game situations where you've seen them do it before, they can do it, and for some reason they're not rising to the occasion.
Yeah, I've seen the Niners do it twice. I've seen the Niners lose twice in the Super Bowl. And they can do it.
I feel like modern era, like the current last 10 years, the worst was when the Eagles got to their third string quarterback 2 seasons ago. And that's not an indictment on the Niners offense. I think it's just the Eagles defense was just so dominant that year.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, when the Niners had to go to their third string, and still nobody ever thought Brock was going to take him even to the NFC title. Nobody thought that because he was third string.
Right.
And then he gets him there, and the Eagles were a dominant defensive team. They were. There was no question about it. They got through that line like it was nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, hats off to the Eagles. They did their job. I mean, but nobody thought a third string quarterback would finish off that whole run
right
to that. So again, it's momentum too. I mean, yes, injuries take a big toll in it when your top players go out and all that. Yeah, that does hurt a team, whether it's one player does not make a team. But you lose somebody who has been a leader on the team and stands up for the like that,
right.
Then that could that can hurt a team. But I mean, I just feel
thought
whoever has momentum. I think the Eagles have momentum. Do the Bills have momentum? Yeah. It's just whether or not it can be kept.
I think for me, I think it's the Lions' year, and I desperately. Here's really why I want to see them go all the way and win it. That fan base has more than earned a victory. The amount of diehard Lions fans who have stuck by that team through just awful seasons.
Detroit's going to riot.
Awful seasons.
It's going to riot.
I mean, LA riots for every championship, and their teams are pretty moderately successful most of the time. So
they riot when there's not a championship in their city.
I mean, the Lakers could go back to back, and there'd be back to back riots. I mean, but Philadelphia fans are pieces of shit because they riot when they have, and really, it's not even a riot; it's just people being drunk and having fun.
Where they have to grease. They have to grease the light poles.
No, that's just a whole new sport. We talked about what was that greased pole running in what country had that? We talked about it maybe a year or two ago.
Oh, I can't remember what I did yesterday at times, and you expect me to remember that?
But it was it was in a country that was not America. It was in a European country. They had greased pole running. Well, we have greased pole climbing in Philadelphia.
Hell, sometimes I forget about the Japanese snowball.
You love that.
Or the fireball soccer.
That was the original obscure sport we talked about.
Yeah, that would have been fun to play though too. Fireball soccer.
We're actually due for an obscure sport discussion. And I will say our buddy Dave,
that should be a poll.
He has some up his sleeve that he wants to talk about. So
we'll make a list, and we can put a poll up to see what do you think would be the worst.
Before we wrap this up, just want to finish up. I'm rooting for the Lions because I want their fan base to get a win. They deserve it for being supportive of a crappy franchise for so long.
I'm going for whoever's going to beat the Chiefs.
I agree with that as well, but I'm really hoping it's the Lions just for their fan base.
Well,
look, I'm always going to root for teams whose fan bases have just mired in just misery for a long period of time.
Lions have an 11-game streak. Eagles has an 8. Bills have a 7. So the Lions are on an 11-game winning streak. Again, momentum.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Hey,
I mean, season's almost over. Happens. Season's almost over. Then the real season begins. As I always call the playoffs the real season.
So let's see. Week 14. The Lions already beat the Packers. Next week they face the Bills. The week after they face the Bears. The week after that they face your Niners. And then week 18 they face the Vikings. Let's just comparatively, let's look at the Chiefs schedule before we wrap this up. Chiefs, they play the Chargers this week.
I mean, they're going to have an easy, the Lions are going to have an easy game with the Niners. That's no two ways about it.
The Chiefs then play the Browns week 15. They play the Texans week 16.
Steelers, then Broncos. Ooh, a Christmas Day game.
I think the Steelers are going to be a tough matchup for them. The Steelers are playing hard-nosed football again, and it reflects in a lot of their scores. It could be a very low-scoring game. But we got to – I mean, all these games, the ones that we just talked about, just for the Chiefs and the Lions, involve teams that are number ones in their current divisions, just beyond those two teams. So, I mean, the playoff picture could change from today till then.
Oh, absolutely it can.
it's going to be interesting to see how this fills out. I'm good on this topic. I don't know if you
I'm
are.
good. I'm good.
All right. Let's get into some quick plugs here. The Rural Blaze Banter podcast, that's hosted by our buddy Dave and his friends. That is a first responders podcast. If that's something that interests you, you can check them out wherever you get your podcast. I'm still waiting for an ad from them. I'd like to get one just so that I can just plug it into the show. The other ship is the Pop Culture Podcast with a Pro Wrestling Lean. You can find them wherever you get your podcast. Same thing, waiting for an ad from them. Like to plug that into the halftime of the show. I gotta say, we've talked about it all episode just because the group gave us our topics for today's episode. I'm really glad we have our MVP group. If you go on Facebook and you search NASPOD MVPs, that'll take you to our group. It'll also be in the link for our show. It'll be a separate link from our Linktree link. So if you want to join us and you're not in there now, you can just click the link in the description of the show. It'll take you to our page. So far, it's been a lot of fun. It's been really interactive, and I look forward to continuing that. We have a lot of good people in the group that I know from other groups, so we're building a little community now with our podcast. Only took how many years, but we're doing it.
Enough.
Enough. I mean, it's crazy. I think I said it last week with episode 96, but it's crazy. We're almost at 100 episodes.
Yeah.
You can soon put us in syndication if we were a TV show.
Should we get like a giant cake?
No. Now, if someone out there wants to bake us a cake, that's different. I don't think we are not guys who would turn down cake.
Or barbecue. I mean, what?
Or barbecue. I don't have anything else to talk about at the moment. So why don't we just get to, wrap everything else up here. Thank you for joining us for episode 97 of the Non-Linear Sports Podcast. You can find us through our Linktree link in the description of the show. That'll take you to our TeePublic page. It'll take you to all of our sponsors' pages, our social media pages, aside from the MVPs group. That's its own link right now. You can find us on every streaming or platform that you can think of for a podcast: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Podcast Addict, Amazon, iHeartRadio, Pandora. Yeah, we're literally everywhere at this point. I don't think there's a platform we're not on. We should have another gameplay video up and running here next weekend.
Yes.
Arena football.
Yes, I think
the
I have
penalty game.
Yeah, right. I think I have that already scheduled.
Okay.
I think it's scheduled to go up. I think I got to check, but I know it's I know it's done. I just think, like I said, I do have it scheduled, I believe.
Okay. All right, so then next weekend you can watch the penalty game of arena football. One of us was Dallas. I don't remember the other team.
Oh, I can't remember either. And the game's actually on my other hard drive.
No worries. But it was a fun game. That was definitely one we played in the basement back in the day.
That was fun.
The game still held up. I will say that. The game still held up. It was still very fun to play. It was the right amount of Madden and arcade that it wasn't too technical and it wasn't overly cartoonish like Blitz. It was pretty good. Man, did they just... Anyway, we'll get into my thoughts on arena football on another day. Because I have thoughts on how you get to that high of success and then just ain't get away within 4 years. All right. Well, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. My name's Jason.
I'm David.
We'll talk with you next time.
Good morning.